Did you know that only 10% of the traders in the US or around the world are profitable? What that means is 90% of the people who trade in the stock market, they lose money. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I do to be a profitable trader. And I'm going to give an example of NVIDIA stock, which will be reporting earnings tomorrow on the 20th of November, 2024. But before we get started, I just want to give you a background of how I start my day and then make a decision to say, today I'm going to trade this stock. Number one, the first thing is I want to see what is going on around the world. So I subscribed to the Barons, and every morning I first of all look at my phone, and then I see what's going on. They send me an email on a newsletter, maybe around, let's say, 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I see it gives me a picture of what's really going on. Maybe there is a lot of news or negative news or an opportunity. Now, what I then do is after that, maybe the government, the US government, because I trade in the US stock market, they may have passed another law or something that can affect that particular sector. And then after that, I then quickly get ready for my trading day. I come to my desk, and then the first thing that I do is I then check the 5 things that are happening in the market, and I'll share a screen so that you see. So the first thing is, number one, CNBC usually provides like the 5 things that you should know before the market, and it's usually the same with the Barons. And then I quickly see what's going on. You can see here, Walmart is on in the news and market tension. So it gives me an indication of what the futures, what the market is anticipating. And when I say the market, there's the equities market, that is the stock is usually measured by the Dow Jones. The S&P 500 is the most popular, but the technology-focused index is the NASDAQ. So what then happens is I just see what's going on, and then I see if there is something that is outstanding. Fine. And then you can see here that there is microcomputer. This is something that is related to the stock that I'm trading. But now, as a trader, I use both technical and fundamental analysis. That means I use the charts to try and get a picture of what's really going on in terms of the momentum of the stock. Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? And then I analyze it around the demand zones, as I will show you. So I will then want also to see, in terms of the major economic data, is there any interesting insight? So I like to use this website called investing.com. So you can see here, if I go today, there was no major news that could move the market. I like the one that have 3 stars. That means it has a lot of volatility. But you can see here this week that this is overall on Thursday, there will be more news. But I know that NVIDIA is going to be reporting earnings tomorrow, but I don't want to predict the market. As a momentum trader, I want to catch the momentum. If it's going up, then I get in. Now, I then say, look, how is the stock, the NVIDIA stock, like behaving, right? So what I do is I use this free app, right? And because I don't want to trade stocks that I don't understand, right? So the first thing is I do an analysis for specific stocks that I will be looking for. So in this case, I've done research on NVIDIA, but I'm just going to quickly walk you through. Today, you can see that it went up by $6.08. This is the NVIDIA stock. So first of all, I look at it to say, does this company have a strong balance sheet? I can see here in terms of their balance sheet, in terms of the cash and cash equivalents, or let's say the cash and short-term equivalents, they have 34 billion. This is actually 34 billion. But I'm also interested to see if this stock actually has a very strong balance sheet. I want to see their long-term debt, because I don't want to be trading a stock that if I'm caught in there, I know my money is gone. So I want to look at the long-term debt. You can see they only have 8 billion, right? In long-term debt. For such a big business, this is not that big, but I like to look at the trend, right? And then The second thing is I go on the free cash flows, and I do this before I even consider trading a stock, right? To see like, is this a fundamentally strong stock, right? So in terms of their free cash flow, their cash flow statement, I want to see the free cash flows. Oh, they have 46 billion in free cash flows, like in terms of their trailing cash flows for this year. But you can see that here they have, growing cash flows. It means they are generating a lot of cash. And then that's something that I like to look at. Now, I want to see what are the people, the analysts, what are the estimates in terms of what they think about this stock, right? Is it a stock that they think this is a good stock, and it's a stock that is undervalued or overvalued? But the idea is, for me, nobody can really predict the market, because people can wake up buying and selling. But for me, I just want to have an idea. Out of these analysts, there are some who are forecasting that it's going to go to $200. The other one is it might go down to $65. So I usually like to be conservative. So if I look at the average, it's 158. So that means, for me, that kind of gives me an insight to say these are people who specialize in this sector and they've used these models. But you see, right now, it's at this point, right? So this is something that gives me an idea to say, okay, if it was to go up, it's potentially still have a room. But again, nobody can really predict what's going to happen to the stock. It might go up, it might go down, or it might even go beyond this. But now, this is the first test. For me, once I do research on a stock, then I have an idea to say, okay, this is a good stock. I don't want to trade stocks that are not really, don't have strong fundamental. So what I then do now, the markets have closed when I'm recording this video, but I like to then do my charting. But you can see it's after market trading. But if I was trading, I wanted to have three things in place. Number one, the RSI, the relative strength indicator, and the MACD indicator. These tools, I want to have them to kind of like help me, kind of give me an insight. But when in real time, it's really hard to know. But the RSI, if it is above here, usually it's oversold, right? At this point, around below 30, it means it's oversold. That's when I want to buy. Like to day trade, to buy here. If it's going up, I want to buy when it's oversold, and then sell when it's when it's overbought, right? When it's overbought, now what it means is people want to then sell and take their profits, so it's most likely to go down. But I also want to look at it in conjunction with these indicators. If I see this, but it's hard to see, because when you are trading, like right now, you can see in real time, it's at this price, it's trading at $147.57. But now the idea is, I kind of like do an analysis to say, okay, today, how is it, trading, right? If I look I look at what we call the demand zone. Basically, this is an interaction of buyers and sellers. So buyers at this point, let's say if a stock comes to this point, if they put a buying order, it then pushes it up. So what I want to do is to catch this momentum, right? If it goes up, right? And then get out. For example, if I get in at this point, right? If I had gotten in at this point, right? If I draw this line, you can see, let's say if I had gotten in at this chart 146, and then I just held for, let's say, at this point, right? So that means 146.79. Let's say 147.79 to just make it easy. Okay, let's say I get at this point. So if you then say, if I had 1,000, let's say I had 100 shares, right? What it means is I would make profit as the difference between this and that. But it's not as simple as that. What I've seen is that, you see here, this is $147.35 per share. So you would need a lot of capital here. So what I then realized, I used to trade options, but I then decided to say, look, can I find other exchange traded funds that track specific stocks that I'm looking at? For example, NVIDIA, it has, let's say, NVDL, that are cheaper. Like you see, this one is $81, but it still has the same, it tracks the same stock. But the catch here is that it is leveraged 2 times. But unlike options, it does not have the decay factor, because with options, once you buy a trade, even if it goes your side, your way, or it doesn't, it starts to decay. In other words, the value of that option starts to decrease in some cases. So what I don't want is, I don't want to be trapped, because as a day trader, I want to get in at this point and get out the next second. But I also want to have a sizable quantity, to say if I have 500 shares, then if it moves by $2, then I will have 1,000. So, and I will be done if I make $1,000 a day. So if I look at NVDA, it tracks NVIDIA stock, right? That is the parent stock that I've done research on. But it is long, it is twice long. In other words, if the stock goes up by 10%, it goes up by double, right? If it drops as well, it goes down twice more. I mean, the underlying stock, that is NVIDIA, if it drops by 10%, the leveraged ETF, in this case NVIDIA, it will go down twice more. So that is the risk. But the good thing is, I always want to use a stop loss, because if I'm getting in a trade, that's when the upside and the downside, you can cap it. So what I do is, let's say now you can see it's 82, it's trading. Let's say it's $82 at 39, $82.45, right? If I buy at this point, right? Let's say I buy at this point and sell at a higher price. I'm just giving you an example. So that's how I make money. But you see, this is the same, like technical analysis. It has the same shape in terms of the candles and stuff, the movement. But the other difference is that the volume, it also has volume here. I can see here that it has like 15 points. Today it had like 15.67, the volume. But it has earnings that are coming up tomorrow. But people might be anticipating that if it beats earnings, it's going to go up. So what is my stance right now? I took the profits today, because I don't know what's going to happen after market. When they report, it might be really go up or it might go down. I don't want to be speculating. That's more like gambling. What I want to do is, I want to trade when this stock, I believe that there is, when I see actually that there's an upward momentum, like at this point, like I showed you, this is on the leveraged ETF. And if I get in at this point, and then I get out, let's say when it starts dropping here, right, at this, let's say this is the supply zone. So sellers, if they start to sell off, right, it can beat the price up, and if they put it market price. So what then happens is, it can go down. But let's say if I got in here at $81, just for simplicity, right, $81, for example, here, right, let's say I got here at $81.66, and then I got in out at 80, let's say $82.66 for simplicity. Let's say $82. What this means is that if I make the difference here, it's let's say 66 to $82. That's 34, let's say 50 cents. So if I have 500 shares, in this case, let's say I have 100 shares, for example, 100 shares would cost me 8,200. So if I have a $10,000 account, I would have made $50 on this trade, right? If it goes up by 50 cents, I have 100 shares, that's $50. Let's say I have 1,000 shares, that would be 82,000. That would be $500 in a space of, let's say, a few minutes, because I like, when I'm day trading, I like to use 1 minute chart, right? To just, because this candle, it shows you what happens in 1 minute, right? But the key thing is, I've done a course on this on my website, www.streetwiseeconomics.com, to go in detail to say the technicals, the candles, what are the candles that you should look at. If you see the hammer, the doji, the bearish candle, it's very important to understand that. But in this case, I'm just showing you here. So in a nutshell, if I then decide to say, look, I want to get in at this point, but what do I see? You can see here that the RSI is around at this point, but this MACD is also around this point. But if I catch this correct, right, and then I got in at this point, and then I got out, let's say at this point, but what happens is once I start to see profit here, I start to lock in, right, to say if it drops, because what happens is it can just change momentum. Let's say there's negative news, or the sellers, they put a big order position, let's say 100 million at market price, it can potentially move the price down. So this is what I do when I'm trading, and I'm going to summarize this in a nutshell to say the things that I've learned over the past this year alone in terms of trading, and that are very important. Number one, I don't like to trade every other stock that I don't understand. So I have a handful of stocks that I like to trade. But first of all, I do a deep dive to say, how are these stocks fundamentally? Do they have good fundamentals? Do they have good management, right? And do they have good volume, right? And now, if they have a leveraged ETF that can give me 2 times, I don't want 3 times because that would be too risky for me. Then I can kind of like then say, okay, if I have 5,000 or 10,000 that I want to play with, right? I can then just do let's say 300 shares or 500 shares. So if it moves by $30 or 40, let's say 30 cents or 40 cents, right? And if I have 300 shares, right, that would be, let's say, 120. So if I trade twice in a space of, let's say, 1 hour or 2 hours when I see the opportunity. So if I make 150, that's $300 per day. I'm done for the day, right? I then close my brokerage account for the trading, and then I focus on other things. But each time that I'm trading, I am trading day trading. I'm trading stocks that I understand. I have a stop loss and I have a trading plan to say I want to get in at this point and I want to get out. There is always this temptation to say, okay, I'm gonna ride on to this, but you don't know because it can potentially reverse on you. So I thought I would just share this with you, and thank you so much for tuning in on this video, and I hope you will tune in to the next one where I will share other insights. But trade and invest wisely, and may the market be on your side. If you also haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe so that you get some insights on how I trade. And also, don't forget that day trading and swing trading are different. Day trading, I just get in and I get out within a matter of minutes or within that same day. Okay, so I will do another video to just give you an example of a stock that I will have, swing traded. So thank you, and talk to you soon, and hopefully you will be making money in the market this year. Thank you so much, and bye for now.